So you're a woman in your late 30s or maybe your 40s and you're ready to rebuild your life and you want to do that internationally. If that's you, how do you know when you're ready to move to France? This is the question I get asked the most in DMs, in emails, and even in my one-on-one move abroad strategy sessions. When we're 40 minutes in and my client, she'll finally say out loud, but how do I actually know? How will I know? How will I really, really know? And the answer that I've come to in my experience of living abroad for over 15 years, 9 of them being in France, after sitting with this question a lot, both for myself and for the women I work with, it's that most of you, or we're asking the wrong question, you're asking it wrong. How do you know when you're ready to to move abroad? And I'm going to tell you why this is wrong. Readiness isn't a feeling that you wait for, right? It's a structure that you build. In all of my years that I've been moving abroad, I realize now that it's a structure that you build, and there's a pattern to even starting over again abroad that appears every time you do it. And I've talked about that in a video of mine before. But readiness is a structure that you build. It isn't this feeling that you wait for. And I'm going to give you four like pillars of how you create and build that structure of readiness so that you can move abroad, you can move to France, and you can live your joyful life with intention the way that you want. I'm going to walk through what that means. But if you're new here, I'm Diedre. I should introduce myself. I'm Diedre. I'm a Jamaican, so I'm non-EU, and I've been living in France, like I said, for a total of 9 years. Mm, I work here in France in HR. And so that means part of my job is helping foreign employees get through their paperwork. I'm also like a foreign employee myself, so I've been on both sides. Outside of work, I coach women through their move to France. And if you've been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time, this is the place. I want to flag this now before we get even further into video and kind of get it out of the way. And this is that if you are watching the video, if you're with me here on this video, like you're really watching it, you're probably past that daydream phase of, should I wonder what it's like to live in France. You're probably past that daydream phase. You're somewhere in the questioning, the researching, the actually, okay, but how do I make this possible? And I am going to make this possible. And what do I need? And how does it match to my needs? This is you if you're on this video. And this questioning is where my one-on-one strategy comes in, and it's called Your France Blueprint. And it's a session where I work with women like you where we look at your specific situation, your passport, the money, everything, your timeline, figure out what a plan to France looks like for you, yours, right? This is, if you are this woman, you're watching this video, then this is what this session is. So I just want to get that out. Links below to your France blueprint. I'll come back to it in the end. You can click on it. You can check it out whenever you're ready. But you're watching and you're talking with me now, and I wanted you to know that it's there for you to go deeper. So I'm just seeing it, like I have a little monitor here. I'm just seeing that my tongue is all completely blue, and it's because I'm having blueberries, or I had blueberries earlier. And so now everything is all blue. Anyways, back to readiness and how to know when you're ready to France and how to create that structure of readiness that you can build so that you can have the move to France that you intend to. Most people think readiness is a feeling. It's like maybe you think one morning you're gonna wake up and the fog will lift and you'll just know that, okay, the time has come. I'm moving to France. And you'll have all doubts gone and you won't be afraid or you won't have like anxiety. This will all be quiet and you'll know it's time. I think this is what we like to imagine and we picture when we think about readiness or feeling ready. But I'm here to tell you that morning is not going to come. That is not going to come. I don't think I've ever met a single woman, and I've never been that woman, and I've moved abroad 5 times, who moved to France because she finally felt ready. I don't think I've ever met a woman like this, not one. I've met women who have moved because they got tired of waiting to feel ready. Or I've moved and I've met women who moved because a window was closing. I met women who moved because the cost of staying where they are got higher than the cost of going and moving to France. But ready, like the way that I just pictured it and I just shared and the way you might be imagining it, I am not too sure if that's like a real thing. Kudos to you if this has happened to you. Tell me in the comments if you've had that feeling of readiness before you've, taken on any type of task. Tell me in the comments. I would really, really love to know. But I'm not sure in my experience if that feeling of readiness, like we described, that kind of perfection where there's comfort and no doubt and all these things happens, especially before a move abroad, especially before while you're doing all the research and you're getting all the documentation and all the paperwork together. I don't think it's so if you are sitting around waiting for this feeling, I want you to release that. Wusa moment. It's not coming. Don't wait for it. I think the waiting is doing something to you that you might not be tracking. When you make readiness a feeling, the only thing you can do is wait because you're waiting for the feeling. It's like this very passive position that you've placed yourself in. And you're scanning yourself for the right vibe, and you're thinking, you know, you're just waiting. And every time you have some kind of doubt or anxiety or fear, every time like that picks up, you are likely to read it as evidence that you're not ready yet. Excuse me. But if you make readiness a structure instead of a feeling, if you make readiness a structure, then you have something you can build. You can actually build. And you have moves that you can make. You have a way to know where you are, how you're going to do what you want to do. You can like have a plan that structures into readiness and builds into like that pinnacle of readiness. Oh, sorry. So I'm going to tell you what that structure actually is and how you can build it out. And it's in 4 pillars. So like 4 pieces, right? And so the first one, and I think this is the one that many women skip, is that you need to know what you're moving towards. And I spoke about that recently, in terms of like understanding, are you escaping or are you starting over? Like you need to know what you're moving towards, right? Not just what you're moving away from or escaping from. And truly, I like for real, 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 not gonna lie, like the escaping away from stuff is easier to identify, and it's probably what brings you to this question of are you ready to move abroad in the first place. So things like the job that's eating you alive, the city or the town that doesn't fit you anymore, the version like of your life that you've outgrown. or the relationship ended, and or the one you wish would end. Like, these are the things that you're moving away from and you're running away from. And this is easy to, like I said, clarify, identify. That's real, and I'm not like dismissing it. And it's often like the thing that like wakes you up in the first place, like, yo, time to go. What? But I think this is the con of that, or the issue with that, is that away from is like the entire engine. And then when you arrive at where you are, when you get to France, you'll find that away feeling, the original feeling of escaping from your old life, old relationship, old job, blah, 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 that restlessness, the dissatisfaction, while it was a motivation, you'll take it with you in France, and then you move abroad to France and France doesn't fix it. And then you're just like, well, now what? And then because you didn't have like a place, you didn't have like a moving toward goal or objective, it can quickly unravel into emptiness, because France is a place. It's not a therapist, right? It's not like a personality transplant. If you've ever read, what is it? Wherever you go, there you are. What's the name? I will drop it in the comments because I forget the name of the author, but it's Wherever You Go, There You Are. If you've ever read that book, it's not a personality trait. Where whatever problems or whatever thing you're trying to escape, you're gonna kind of take it with you. And whatever you didn't address before you got on the plane is going to be waiting for you at the baggage claim. So the question is the important question that you should ask, and this is the pillar, the first pillar, is what are you moving towards? Not what are you moving away from, what are you moving towards? And it's not just France. That's too vague. What about France? The pace, the standard of living, the lifestyle, the healthcare. Talked about that in a video when I went to the dentist like 2 days ago. Amazing. Just free 99. Anyways, what about France? Get specific. Is it the healthcare, like I said, the lifestyle, the language you've always wanted to learn, French? Like, what are you moving towards? The version of yourself where you can only become this version somewhere else. And moving abroad, traveling, living abroad really, really shows you a version of yourself that you can only find when you're away from home. And you also create a new home. Proximity to other places. Like, Paris is not like my favorite city in France, but it is by in terms of proximity and access to transportation, the airport, travel, top tier. Best thing ever. Everybody flies through Paris. There's a connection to everywhere. So, something you have to be specific. Like, what are you moving toward? That's the point. Not just so moving away from the thing, escaping from the thing is that it's many times it's like the catalyst, and that's good. That's the thing that's going to like get you going. But what's going to sustain you and keep you and nourish you, what's really going to sustain you is that understanding and knowing the specific thing that you're moving towards. And when I sit with my clients in the France Blueprint session, the women who have the clearest toward objective, like that picture is the clearest, they're the ones who navigate like the actual bureaucracy of France with the least amount of suffering. We're going to suffer a little bit, it's France, but with the least amount of suffering. Because when your visa appointment with the prefecture gets rescheduled, or there's just delays. Yet in my previous video, yesterday's video, I talked about a client having a visa delay, and she was struggling to get back to her family in time because she had a sick loved one to visit. But when the your get delays or the appointments get rescheduled, when the bank takes 6 weeks to open your account, trust me, it happens. Or when, the landlord asks for a French guarantor that you don't have, all of these things. These women, when they have the best picture, when you have the best picture of what you're moving toward, they remember why they came. And the ones who only had like a I'm running away from something, those breakages that I just explained, those delays and inconveniences, they like hit different and these women, my clients were like they struggle a bit more because there's no future oriented goal that's anchoring them into their new reality. So that's the first pillar. The toward, what are you moving towards? You need to have that in order to build a structure of readiness. Because you need to know what you're walking into, honestly. Like, not just what you're walking out of, what you're walking into, what you're walking towards. Okay, the second one, second pillar, pillar number two, and I think this one is a bit harder, is it's a trade off because everything is a trade off. And what are you trading? And you need to make peace with what you're trading. Every move abroad is going to cost you something. That new version of yourself that you're thinking about is going to cost you something, every single one. Even the ones that work out beautifully, there is a trade off. And you will do best with this move to France. Not when you like minimize the cost of what you're trading, but the ones who confront and like if you confront and you make peace with that, there's a trade-off and you're trading something, you're trading up. When you name it and you know what you're trading, what you're giving up to gain in this new life abroad, when you name it, when you sit with it and you decide it's worth it anyway, this is when you're building that structure of readiness. Because it doesn't matter what comes afterwards, you know that it's worth it because you know what you're moving towards. You know what you're trading, for this, you're trading up for this. You know it. And so things that you could be trading could be like proximity to family. You're moving far away. Like I live thousands of miles away from my family. It's just me here. Familiar food. Sometimes you might not find food like in Paris. There's like what, two Jamaican restaurants, for example. One of them not so great. One of them it's good. It's like a 7, and then the other is like a good 9. Um, what are you trading? Sometimes you're trading your career that you left back home. It was built in a language that you speak natively, fluently. You really understand the culture and the way of working there. You're trading friends who you knew before. You're leaving them behind. You might feel this. The doctor who knows your medical history, the pharmacist who might recognize you, the level of comfort um that comes from like being the default person in a place. The Jamaican in Jamaica is the default person in Jamaica, you know? The Jamaican in France is not the default person. And there's a different level of comfort. Even if I'm comfortable here. Fun fact though, as you continue to live life abroad, you in Jamaica and in Jamaica may not bring the same level of comfort anymore. You might feel even a bit out of sorts. But that's years later. Years later. This is not the point that I'm talking about. But knowing what you're trading is key because you're gonna pay for this move in invisible currency for years. These things that you're trading for the life that you're moving to France, you're paying for it in invisible currency. Not in money, but in time, in energy, in identity. in the mental load of doing your taxes, like in a system that you didn't grow up in. Also, another fun fact is that I do not know how to pay taxes or to declare taxes in Jamaica. I learned it in France. And so I'm much more comfortable declaring taxes in France than I am in Jamaica. I have no idea. But just fun fact. But yes, you will be trading, and what it's costing you is doing your taxes in a system that you don't know. The admin load of living in a country where every process has three steps you did not see coming, you didn't know about. This is the invisible cost of moving abroad, and this is what you're trading, and you need to be able to sit with it and and confront it, process it, name it, and really and believe and understand that despite all of that, this move is worth it. It will be worth it because of what I'm trying to achieve, what you're trying to get to. This is the part. And it's not just this is the part that you need to really understand, right? And readiness is there when you can name those things out loud to yourself in the middle of the night when nobody is romanticizing, romantic Parisian lights or, you know, um, walking on the French Riviera. Uh, when nobody's romanticizing anything, you're able to say, yeah, I'm trading these things, but you know what? What I'm getting, what I'm gaining, it's still worth it. It's still worth it, and I'm here. That is the second pillar of building readiness. If you are able to do that, you are already halfway to understanding and being ready to move abroad and move to France. And if you can't like name the things that you're trading yet, you're not on ready. You just have to do more sitting with yourself to get there, to process it. All right. Third one. The third pillar I like to call the practical big four. What does that even mean? So that's what I wrote down on, on my notes is the practical big four. And to build up your readiness and to build your readiness structure, you have to have a working answer to the practical big four. And I call them the big four because they're the ones that decide whether a move is possible at all. And I think this is where many people start. And while it's okay to start at this step, you shouldn't miss the first two. You shouldn't miss out or neglect the first two pillars that I described earlier, the trade-off and the toward goal. But anyways, the big practical four is understanding what these are to decide whether your move is possible at all. And they are your visa path, your money or your budget, how you're going to be earning. So your work, depending, like it doesn't have to be like a job employment, but it can be like entrepreneurship or whatever, but how you're going to be earning in France and where in France. Those big four. And I think many people just start here without doing like the first step. And you really have to do the first two steps. You really have to do the internal checklist and the internal investigation, excavation to really to support the big four when you know the answer. And you don't need a perfect answer to all four because you're going to be searching, right? But you need a working answer. So meaning you've looked at it, you have general ideas, you have a direction, even if you don't have the exact destination, but you do have a direction. And so to break down a little bit the big four, the visa path is the first one, and that depends. This depends on so many things. Depends on the type of passport you have. It depends on what your current profession or skill set. depends on your budget. Sometimes it depends on your relationship status. Um, if you're non-EU woman like me, then sometimes it might get you stuck the longest because you're trying to figure this out. And it's also the one that has many options that people don't know about, where we discuss as well in my session. There's almost always a path. The length and cost differs, but there's almost always a path for your situation. You just have to know which one fits you. So the visa path is the first big four. The second practical big four is the money part, the budget. How much do you have? How much do you need when you land? How much you need to sustain the first 12 months while everything is being figured out. Um, you will understand this a lot, but you might also undershoot it a lot. Um, and it's not because like you're reckless, but you might underestimate the amount of cost. And I'm not trying to say that you need some gigantic amount of cost, really, but I think it's because you might be using like the wrong reference numbers um to really plan your budget. Work is the third practical big four. Are you bringing your work with you? Are you finding new work here? Are you freelancing? Will you be between things? Are you taking a sabbatical? How are you going to be earning? Are you using your savings to do this? Each of those have completely different implications of how you will live your life in France. For your visa, your taxes, for how your first year plays out, and then where you're going to stay, the location. We're in France, so France is not one place, and the regions are so different. You have the north, which is Paris and Lille, for example, which is a bit gray and rainy. You have the East Coast. East Coast is also a bit gray and a bit rainy as well, but you have the East Coast with the beaches. You have the West Coast, which is like more mountainous. So you have the Alps. Down south is like a whole different vibe, which is warmer. The center is like a whole different region. Like France is not just one place, and it's not just Paris, Lyon, Bordeaux, or a village or or a village or 2 hours from there. Your where shapes your money, your work options, your social life, and your work options, your money, and your social life also shapes your where you're going to be going in France. How isolated, your comfort with being isolated, or not having like a huge uh list of social activities. So like for me, on my second move back to France, I didn't really care about whether I was in a big city or not. Like it didn't really matter. Like I also, for example, I don't live in the center of Paris because I know I'm not going to be going out every day. So I don't need to be in the center of all the attraction and stuff. I'm just like, yeah, no. But anyways, your weather, everything. You just need to have a general idea of like things in a realistic way. And like I said, you don't have to like lock these things in from the get go, but you do need like a general direction, and you've had to look at those practical big fours honestly in a way. And if all four are still blank, that's also fine. It just means that your work hasn't started yet, right? But readiness structurally is when you can speak about each of these things without going blank. These three pillars at least without going blank. Last pillar, the fourth pillar is getting comfortable with the unknown. If you can sit with not knowing, this one will separate you from the woman who moves to the woman who is always researching forever and ever and ever. 3 years go by and still have not moved. If you get comfortable with uncertainty and not knowing, you are at the pinnacle of your readiness. You have built a structure of readiness that will endure. You will not have all the answers before you go. Even with going through all of these pillars that I talked about. Pillar 1, knowing what you're moving towards. Pillar 2, knowing what you're trading, the trade-off for, moving abroad. And pillar 3, understanding the big practical fours, the practical big fours. You will not have all the answers before you go. And so this last pillar of sitting with uncertainty, getting comfy with it is important. You will not have all the answers before you go. You will not have all the answers after you go. You will be making decisions at all times, so many times, with incomplete information at every single stage. And you have to learn to be okay with that. Or, at least like okay enough so that you can keep moving anyway. The women and the clients that I meet who I observe who struggle a lot in their first year here, they're the ones who needed that certainty or feeling of readiness before they moved. You have to be adaptable, you have to be fluid, and living abroad will definitely show you how to be adaptable. Because France is not going to hand you the answers on like this silver platter. Constantly, you will have admin issues. Your file, your dossier will be missing a document that you didn't know existed. Your work contract will probably say something that you don't understand. Your neighbor might yell at you about something that may or not be your fault. Like it's 10 p.m. right now, and I need to wrap up this video because I'm talking really loudly because I got really excited about this one, and they're probably going to leave me a note tomorrow morning. Okay. You'll have to make decisions in real time without a guidebook. Um, so that how you know you're ready and that readiness here is when you've made peace with the fact that you're going to be uncomfortable and you're going to have a lot of uncertainty. You're going to be confused at some point. You're going to be a little wrong about some things, or maybe you're going to have delays, but you're going to keep going anyway because you're okay with this uncertainty. That's not a feeling. I think that's like a stance. Uh yeah, like a point of view. Like this is the stance and this is where the stance you're making. And that's something that you can choose. You can choose to decide that okay, I'm going to be okay with uncertainty. And making that choice, you don't have to wait to make the choice for any of these things. Did you notice any of the for all of the pillars, you don't wait for it to passively arrive to you as some feeling. And so when I work through or one-on-one session, your France blueprint in the one-on-one strategy sessions, we go through these specific situations. And what I'm really doing is helping you walk through these 4 areas, not like nothing like some kind of checklist, but to really help you to navigate and understand them. Where are you clear? Where are things like you're drawing a blank and not really sure what the answer is? Where, what is that murk, that muddy area made of? Is it information you don't have? Identifying like decisions that you haven't been willing to make or fear you haven't named yet. It's like really working through some of these. Because a lot of the time, whenever I hear a client tell me that they're not ready, or not just a client, but anyone I know who's moving abroad, or even for myself, whenever I tell myself I'm not ready, a lot of the times, and I think most of the times, what's going on is that I'm not clear on something. I might be like clear on 3 of the 4 patterns, the 4 pillars, but one of them is like hiding, and I'm refusing to confront it. And sometimes it can be like the budget, the money. Sometimes what you're not confronting is what you're moving towards. Sometimes it's the cost of giving up your old life. Sometimes you haven't grieved what you're leaving yet. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes it's like this for my clients, and sometimes it's for myself, depending on when I move and what the movie's about. And until you find which one you're hiding from, you will struggle with building your structure of readiness, and you won't be able to like tell when you're ready or not, or whether you're just like stuck in one specific spot. And I think that's the thing about like readiness as a feeling. It tells you nothing about what to do next because it's just asking you to wait for the feeling to arrive. But readiness as a structure can help you to know like where to look, because you have like four pillars and within them there are like seven things, right? You can tell, and that's why asking, am I ready to move to France? This is why it's the wrong question. Okay, one more thing before I wrap this video, because I've been chatting a lot. There's a version of this question, am I ready, that isn't really about readiness, and it's about permission. I think wrapped up in the question of, are you ready? Am I ready to move abroad? Am I ready to move to France? I don't think you're asking, do I have the structural pieces together? I think you're asking, am I allowed to want this? Is it okay to disrupt my whole life for this? Am I being reasonable? Or am I being selfish? Or is this too naive? Am I being too naive about moving abroad? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, I think this is the question. A part of the readiness isn't about, a part of that question is about permission. I cannot give you that permission. No matter if we're here in our one-on-one strategy sessions, in our friends blueprint work session, I cannot give you that permission. Actually, you know what? I am going to give you that permission. But what I cannot do is make you believe that permission. And so you have to get there. Nobody can. That part has to come from inside you. And that's why the first two pillars of this readiness structure that you're building is so important. Like, you have to know what you're striving for, what you're walking towards, and why it's worth it. I'll say this, every woman I've worked with who's done this, everyone I've worked with, every single one, even myself, because I've made some moves that I just like, you did not think that through. But every single one, every woman who has done this and given themselves permission and walked through those four pillars has had to give themselves permission at some point. Sometimes it's years before the actual move, because it can be a long process to get everything together. Sometimes you have 1 year, sometimes it's in 2 years, sometimes you have a 3-year plan. After 3 years, I think like, but keep going. But sometimes it's years before, but you have to give yourself permission. Sometimes it's on the morning of the flight when you're just like, you know what? I can do it. Let's go. I don't think there's like any like permission immigrations person that's going to like stamp your application like permission granted, approved to want this. I don't think so. But you have to choose is the point, and you have to give yourself permission. You have to allow yourself to choose this and know why you're choosing it. And the four pillars of readiness that I just talked about is how you can make that choice with with information, with good data, instead of like anxious, fear laden anxiety. They're how you know the pillars and just working through that structure is how you know whether the no is a no or it's a not yet. Or I need help figuring out this part. So where does that leave you? If you watch this whole thing, thanks for watching. Second, you already know where you are on this roadmap. You know, I think you know which pillar is like really solid and which one is like a little bit wobbly and you need a bit to work on a little bit. And you probably know which one you've been avoiding. Your friend's blueprint, the friend's blueprint session is for you. If you've looked at these things and you know you need help working through things specifically, then it's for you. It's not for the woman who is still in the daydream zone. Woohoo, romanticizing all of life. You should romanticize your life and you should romanticize your move to France, but not all of it and not only romanticize it. It's for my friend's work, blueprint work session is for the woman who is serious enough to put actual numbers, her actual passports, her actual life on the table and figure out what our real plan looks like for her. If that's you, like I said, the link's in the description for whenever you're ready. We sit down together and you walk away with a blueprint that's yours for your move to France. And if you're not there yet or you need some more time, that's also like really great. Stay on the channel. Subscribing is the best way to get my latest info. Keep watching, keep clarifying and updating and working through um all the things, all of your doubts, and keep building up that structure of readiness. The questioning and the doubt is part of the work. So don't worry about this. But please don't wait for a feeling of, "Woo, I need to go." It's not coming. But you can build the structure to make sure you have the right conditions to be ready. I'll see you in the next one. I'm Diedre. I help women move to France to build a life that they want, that truly fits them because they deserve it, because you deserve it. Ciao.